Hey YouTube, Do-It-Yourself Junkie 369 here today, and in this video basically it's just a reminder that building an experimental aircraft is dangerous and there are certain risks and you need to think about those risks and take steps to mitigate them. Basically, I injured myself on the very first step of making the tail cone, as seen in this video. I'll slow down a bit so you can see it. And basically what happened there was my tap snapped in half and I immediately jammed my palm into the sharp end of the tap and sliced my palm open. So here is one end of that fracture. You can see it's quite sharp. And the end still stuck in the part has a matching end. For anybody that's squeamish, close your eyes now, I'll tell you when to open them, but that is what happened. Right there at the base of my thumb, it hurts. I think I might have hit some nerves or something because it actually, doing this movement right here, hurts all the way down about here in my elbow. And it's quite deep. And that's after 3 days. It took me 2 days just to get it to stop bleeding. First day it was bleeding pretty good, and then after that it was just kind of seeping. Okay, anybody that closed your eyes, you can open them back up. Here's the other half of the broken piece, this part that cut my hand open. It's got an even sharper edge on it than the one that I just showed you, if that's possible. The first thing I need to do is get this out of here without hurting myself and see if this part is salvageable. One problem with taps is they are very, very, very hard material, and if it's stuck good, you either have to use a tap remover depending on where it's broken at, or just resign to the fact that it is stuck in there forever. It actually took quite a bit of twisting force to snap this, so I feel like this tap might be stuck in this piece forever. You are not going to drill a tap out. As far as I know, there is not a drill bit tough enough to drill through the material this hard. There probably is, but the amount of money you're going to spend on it is going to be ridiculous. You got to figure taps are cutting into steel. There is the other half that I basically impaled my hand on. As you can see, it's quite sharp, and I actually touched it just barely and nicked my finger. Not deep enough to cause any blood, but still just sliced through the skin like it wasn't there. And then looking at my part, I don't know if you'll be able to see down inside there, but there is a good ½ inch of threads that are just destroyed. And then the rest of the threads that are cut look like they're in the process of being stripped out or mangled. So this part's ruined and I'll order a new part. So first time that I screwed something up bad enough that I have to throw it in the trash and start over. Not planning on making a habit out of this, but if it was going to happen, at least it happened on a small part that is just aluminum stock. So it should be fairly cheap to get a replacement for this. And then I'm going to get a better tap as well. As I said before at the start of the video, there's risk involved with building an aircraft, both in the construction and the flying. And if any of you are already pilots, you know you look at risk and you try to mitigate them or avoid them altogether. And one thing that I should have seen coming, I got complacent, one, because I've never broken a tap before, and somebody was like, oh, your taps suck. I've been using these taps for nearly at least 13 years now, I think, is when I bought this tap set. And I never had problems with taps snapping, even though I've used them quite extensively on my car and all sorts of other projects, both in aluminum and steel. But the tap handle that came with the kit was quite cheap and is damaged. So there's supposed to be a V notch on this side, and it's quite rounded out. So when I was trying to use it, it was just spinning around the tap, which should have been an indication there that something was going on with that tap. I don't know if it was dull or what was wrong with it, but it's just not cutting right. Also, it looked more like a chasing tap rather than a starting tap, which usually has a gentler taper. So that might have been part of the problem too. But I didn't see any other 3/8 tap in my set, and usually it has both. But, so I went and I used this wrench to get a good grip on it so I could spin it. Issue number one is I stuck this hand on top of the wrench to keep it from slipping. So when it broke, it was right in that area to drop down onto the broken piece. And then two, it's not the same as this wrench. If I've been using this wrench and it snapped, I'm holding it out here away from the tap, which would have lessened the possibility of getting some sort of injury. That, and I should have stopped as soon as I was having that much trouble turning it. Tapping is a difficult process, but it shouldn't have been that difficult to turn, especially with all of this extra torque due to the length of the wrench. So I paid for my stupidity there. Luckily, it didn't hit down on my wrist where it could have really caused some damage with how deep this cut. And I still have, even though it hurts, I still have thumb mobility. So hopefully as it continues to heal, that pain that I'm feeling down here in the elbow goes away. So just pay attention to stuff like that. Most people say don't wear gloves. I probably should have been wearing gloves in this process. That would have helped. It wouldn't have stopped it altogether with how sharp that is, but it would have lessened the degree of damage. And then on that note too, I'm doing a sound video, but at least when you're riveting, probably everybody in the shop area should have ear pro on when you're riveting, especially in a space of a 2-car garage, due to proximity to the noise. So just stuff like that. And also safety glasses. I make the kids wear them. This tapping process, I should have been wearing them too. When I'm drilling, I should have been wearing them, or I should be wearing them, and you probably should as well. So that's all I have for this video. I'm taking a couple days break, mainly because there's a lot of stuff I can't do. I feel like if I put any pressure in this area, I'll just split that back open and it'll start bleeding again. And then also I need to spend some time ordering that, getting my wing kit ordered, and because I'm ordering the wing kit, I'm looking at pitot tubes, lighting, and autopilots, because the roll servo probably goes in the wings depending on what system I buy. Pitot tube definitely goes in the wings. And so I need to do some research into which of those I need to buy, and if there's anything in the kit that I should subtract. For example, a lot of people are going with zip tips, so I need to sit down and figure out, are the zip tips worth it versus the standard tip. And if I get the zip tips, that eliminates the standard tips, plus I don't have to buy a whole bunch of lighting. So I need to do a cost comparison there and decide if I'm really getting anything that's worth it, basically. I mean, as far as saving work, there's some debate going back and forth online about that. One, the lights are already mounted, so it does save work there. Two, there's the group of people that say they're so much better made and so much easier to install than a standard Vans tip. But on the other side of the aisle, there's people saying that no, they do not save you any time, and installation is just as hard, if not maybe a little bit harder. But it's all personal opinion, so I'm having to read through that, wade through it, and try to figure out which I'm more inclined to believe and which is possibly more likely, and whether or not the price difference is worth it. And people are saying the zip tips, oh, it saves all the tip and lighting cost, and so it comes out to be about the same price. But that's just based on nobody's really looked into it that in depth. So I wanted to make sure what that price difference was that I would be paying for the possible convenience of having zip tips. And I'll probably do a more in-depth video on what I decided and why, just to give you guys something to look at if you ever have to make that choice. Anyway, I'll be back to work probably before the parts even come in, if my hand starts feeling better. I hate losing time due to this injury. I mean, yesterday and today was a great weekend. I could have opened the garage. It was nice outside. I could be working at. Instead, I spent all yesterday flying on the flight simulator, and then all today looking at lighting options and pricing, and it's not as exciting. And even though the first few steps, looks like steps 1 and 2 and 3 require this piece, if I skip to step 4, there's some stuff I could be doing while I wait for that part to come in. The only deal is, right now, I don't feel like trying to drill or do anything and put pressure on my hand where it's hurt. So don't expect really anybody to love this video. It's kind of sad, in my opinion. But if you are so inclined, hit the thumbs up button. Think about subscribing and watch some of my more interesting, funner videos about building the aircraft. And thanks for watching.